Hello, and welcome to the Permanent Resident Card application video at Immigroup. This video serves as a guide for those persons who are applying for a permanent resident card and need instruction on how to complete their application. We will go through the application step by step. The application can be obtained from Citizenship and Immigration Canada or from our offices. In this video, we will discuss how to complete the PR card application, the additional documentation you must provide, obtaining and completing the supplementary form, photograph specifications, and paying your government fees. Many of the sections in this application form are simple and straightforward. However, some sections in the application can cause some confusion, and we will discuss those sections right now. The IMM 5444, the application for a permanent resident card. Part A, Section 1. You must write your name as it appears on your landing document. If you currently use a different name than the one you had when you entered the country because of a marriage, divorce, or legal name change, you must fill in Section 2 with your new name. You are expected to provide evidence of your name change, such as a marriage certificate, divorce certificate, or a notice from a government agency approving your name change. Part C, Section 16. If you have been a permanent resident for 5 years or more, you must list all the addresses where you have lived for a full 5 years. If you have been a permanent resident for less than 5 years, you must list all the addresses where you have lived for the entire time you have been a permanent resident. And if you have traveled to a foreign country, you do not have to list where you stayed unless you traveled for an extended period of time and considered the address to be a residence. Part C, Section 17. If you have been a permanent resident for 5 years or more, you must list your entire employment or study history for a full 5 years. If you have been a permanent resident for less than 5 years, you must list your employment or study history for the entire time you have been a permanent resident. If you have not worked or studied during this time, write "not applicable" in the space provided. Part C, Section 18. If you have been a permanent resident for 5 years or more, you must list all of your travel outside of Canada for a full 5 years. If you have been a permanent resident for less than 5 years, you must list all of your travel outside of Canada for the entire time you have been a permanent resident. If you haven't traveled outside of Canada in this time, write "not applicable" in the space provided. Day trips into the United States where you did not stay overnight do not need to be included. However, if you stayed overnight in any other country, then you must list that trip. In the end, you must add up all the days that you were absent from Canada. If the number is 1,095 days or more, you must move on to Section D. If the number is 1,094 days or less, then move on to Section E. Important note for Part C. If your address, work, or trip history exceeds the number of spaces provided on the form, simply type them up on a separate piece of paper and attach the sheet with your application. Section D. This section is only for those people who have been out of Canada for over 1,095 days, which is equal to 3 years in a 5-year period. In order to retain your status as permanent resident of Canada, you must not have been outside Canada for over 1,095 days in a 5-year period. However, if you are outside the country under certain circumstances, this time you are outside of Canada will not count against you. These are the following circumstances. Number 1, you are in the company of a Canadian spouse. In this case, you will have to prove that the two of you are related and you were together. Number 2, you were employed abroad by a Canadian business or by a government agency. You must show that your employer is Canadian and that you were employed overseas. Number 3, you were in the company of a Canadian permanent resident who was employed by a Canadian business or by a government agency. Again, you must prove your relation, the fact that you were together, and the person was employed by a Canadian business or government agency. Number 4, you possessed a returning resident permit. You will be asked to produce a copy of this permit. You must add up all the days you were outside of Canada under these circumstances and subtract it from the total in Section 18. If the number is still greater than 1,095 days, then you have lost your permanent resident status. However, if the number is less than 1,095 days, you are still eligible to renew your permanent resident card. Section E. In this section, you must sign the application and write in the date and location where you signed it. If the applicant is under 18, a parent or guardian must also sign the application in this section. Section F. Solemn declaration concerning a lost, stolen, destroyed, or never received permanent resident card. This section is only to be filled out by those persons who are replacing a lost, stolen, or damaged card, or have applied for the card and never received it. In this section, you must explain what happened and what efforts you have taken to locate your card. If you have damaged your card, you're expected to include the damaged card in your application. Additional documentation. Now that you have filled out your application, you must gather all the supporting documentation. The types of documents you will need depend on your situation. Please take a look at the document checklist in your kit. In most circumstances, you should include copies of your record of landing, your passport, and a few Canadian identity documents, and, if possible, your old permanent resident card. If you are missing any of these documents, please give our office a call and we may be able to help you replace it. The IMM 5455 Supplementary Identification Form. All applicants must include the Supplementary Identification Form. This is a green form in which you print your name and birth date and sign at the bottom. It is important that you do not sign outside the white box. If you do, you will be asked to fill out another form. Unfortunately, the form cannot be downloaded as it has a sticker on it which is used to attach one of your photos. The form can be ordered from Citizenship and Immigration Canada, but will take about 2 weeks to arrive. You can order a form from Immigrant and we'll get it to you in about 48 hours. Photographs. In your application, you must send 2 photographs. The photographs must be 35 millimeters wide by 45 millimeters long. The photographs can be either black and white or in color. In these photographs, you're allowed to wear prescription glasses as long as they still show a clear view of your eyes. You may also wear any cosmetic accessories as long as you wear them on a regular day-by-day basis. The photographs must be taken by a commercial photographer who must stamp the back of the photographs and include the day they were taken. Any photograph that is older than 1 year will not be accepted. We recommend you take the CIC Photo Specifications Guide to your photographer. Paying the government fee. Before you send your application, you must pay your government fee of 50 Canadian dollars. There are 2 ways to pay. The first way to pay is to pay them online through the CIC website. Just click on the option that says Pay Fees Online and follow the instructions. You must have a valid credit card to pay online. Print out your receipt and send the appropriate copy to CIC. You may also pay your fees at a Canadian bank. To do so, you must order a fee receipt from CIC. Once you have received this receipt, you pay the fee at a Canadian bank and you send the slip with your package. For more information on permanent resident card applications, click the link on our website, or if you have any further questions or wish to set up an account, please contact us toll-free at 1-866-760-2623 or visit our website at www.immigroup.com. We wish you the best of luck.